Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys had a wonderful Wednesday, and I hope that I can add to your Wednesday by explaining how we can make fractions a better part of your life. So, tonight I'm going to do something totally different than what you're normally seeing. It's going to be a full online tutoring session. Why? Because the number one struggle in mathematics fractions. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you want to know any and everything about fractions, please list all comments below and I'll be glad to help you. Other than that, have a wonderful Wednesday. I am here to help. Hello and welcome. If you're just now tuning in, this is a full online tutoring session. We are going to do tonight a little different because we are discussing fractions. Why are we discussing fractions? Well, fractions is the number one struggle in mathematics. But I guarantee once you learn how to do fractions, you will be able to do any of the other major parts of mathematics. So, if you have any questions as far as fractions are concerned for the first hour, I am here to help. Ask any questions about fractions, and I do mean any questions about fractions. Again, I'm here to help. Other than that, have a wonderful Wednesday. I look forward to hearing from you. Comment below. Hello, everyone. If you are just now tuning in, we are in the middle of the full online tutoring session. We are going to do things a little different this evening, only because the number one cause of difficulty in math is, of course, fractions. A lot of people that I've ever tutored, the number one thing they tell me is that they hate fractions, whether it's comparing them, whether it's converting them, whether it's adding and subtracting them, especially if they have unlike bottoms. I am here to help and answer all of those questions this evening. So, full online tutoring session discussing fractions and up to pre-calculus. So, first hour, we're discussing fractions. Have any questions about fractions? And I do mean any questions because all questions are important and very significant. If you have any questions, please comment below. You can comment into the Facebook page or the YouTube page, and I'll be glad to help you. Other than that, have a wonderful Wednesday. I'm Miss Chris, and I'm here to help. Good evening. Looks like I have some new faces coming in. If you're just now tuning in, we are doing a full online tutoring session for this live this time. For the first hour, we are going to discuss fractions. Any questions that you have on fractions, please comment below, whether it's converting them, comparing them, simplifying or reducing them, how to operate with them, such as adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Any questions that you have on fractions, I am here to help because I understand that fraction is one of the, if not the number one struggle of mathematics. So if you have any questions, please comment them below. Other than that, have a wonderful Wednesday. I am here to help. All right, we have our first question. Can you explain what are fractions, please? No problem. As you can see to my right, fractions are pieces of a puzzle or a part or a piece of a whole. So the best explanation I can show you is a circle. Circles can be divided in so many ways, in so many different pieces, evenly and unevenly. Now, when it comes to fractions, most of the time when you're dividing the circle must be divided in equal parts or pieces, such as as dividing a circle in half. All it is taking one line and dividing it right down the middle. Now, as you can see, fractions are listed top to bottom. They also can be listed sideways with the first number, a slash, and the second number. First number or the top number is called the numerator. It is how much of the puzzle or of the piece or of the fraction that has been used or given or taken away, whichever you prefer to discuss fraction. The second part tells you how many in total does it take to make the whole. So you have a circle divided into two pieces. So those two pieces make one whole. But if I take a piece of that away, now I have half or 1/2 of the whole that we originally had. So anytime you're dealing with fractions, know that there's the numerator, which is the piece that you're taking away or giving away or receiving. And then the whole number is the number of how many pieces the whole was divided into. And of course, the bottom number can be 2, it could be 3, it can be 4, it could be pretty much any, and I do mean any size. But great question. Any other questions? Oh, also, when it comes to fractions, fractions is another way of describing or doing division. So, anytime you're getting ready to do fractions, knowing you are pulling something apart or dividing it into equal parts. So, another way of doing fractions is a part of doing division. If you have any additional questions, please comment them below. I am here to help. We have another question. This is a good one. How do you add fractions, like if they have same or different denominators? That's a really good question. All right, you guys, I'm going to pull up my handy dandy whiteboard. Again, I'm going to draw with my whiteboard. Please excuse my handwriting. So, this is how you would add if they have the same denominator. Say, for instance, I have 1/3 plus another 1/3. If you have the same denominator, adding or subtracting, you keep the same bottom. So if it's 1/3 and 1/3, you keep the same bottom. So now, the only thing you have to do with the top numerator, you either add or subtract the numbers on the top. So 1/3 plus another third will give you 2/3. Simple, right? Same as if I had 4/5 minus 1/5, or 1/5. So, same principle, same process. For adding and subtracting, if they have the same bottom, you keep the same bottom. Subtracting from left to right, 4 minus 1 would give me 3/5, or 3/5. So, whether you're adding or subtracting the same denominator, you will either add the top or you subtract the top, but you always keep the same bottom. You do not add or subtract the bottoms. You keep the exact same bottom. That's just like if I divided, best example. One moment. Let's say I have a cookie and I divide the cookie into 3 parts. Might not be even parts, but there's still 3 parts. So now the 3 lets me know that it's those 3 pieces equals my whole. Then, say for instance, I break those pieces apart. Say for instance, I eat a third and then I eat another third. How many thirds or how many pieces of the cookie did I have? That would be 2/3. Next question would be, how many pieces of the cookie do I have left? Well, we know that a whole is 3/3, and I have eaten 2/3. So I'm left with is 1/3 of the cookie. Okay. So the next part is, how do you add or subtract if the bottoms are different? Say for instance, I have 1/2 plus 2/3. Well, as you can see, they both have different bottoms. How do you add something and the bottoms are not the same? Most people would think I can't add this because they're not the same bottoms. Well, here's an easier way to explain or show how you can add these together. So now there's two things that I'm going to introduce to you. One would be the least multiple, or LCM, or the greatest common factor. When it comes to making the two fractions with unlike bottoms and giving them new bottoms that are alike, you are always going to go for the least common multiple. The greatest common factor, we'll touch on that later. Least common multiple simply means what number in multiples do the two bottoms have in common. And by multiples, I mean 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So what is the least common multiple? What is the smallest number in multiples do these two numbers have in common? So now, what number does 2 and 3 in multiples have in common? Smallest one. Well, you can do this so many other ways. If you know your multiple facts of 2 and 3, then you should know what the smallest number is. If you do not, here's an easy way on how to find that out. You'll write the number 2 and a colon. This will let you know you're getting ready to make a list of multiples. So now you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I usually go 5. Sometimes I'll go more than 5 if the multiple I'm looking for is greater than the 5 numbers that I. Next up, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Okay, so I have listed the first 5 multiples of 2 and 3. Now, what is the smallest number in that current list that they both have in common? Well, the smallest number between those two would be 6. Neat, huh? So now that I know that 6 is my least common multiple between 2 and 3, I now have a way to do my new bottoms or my new denominators. So now the next step would be to write the new denominators. Now we have new denominators. How do I get my new numerator? To get the new numerator, you would first divide by the old denominator with the new denominator and then multiply by the numerator. Example 1 would be 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 1 is still 3. So first you divide and then you multiply. Next up would be the second number. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Again, we did division, then we multiplied. Simple enough? So then once I have my new fractions that have both denominators are the same and they have new numerators, all I have to do now is what we did earlier. Keep my bottoms and add or subtract the numerators. So 3 plus 4 gives me 7. So my answer is 7 over 6, or 7/6 with a TH. Good question. Also, while we're on the subject, as you can see, my answer is 7 over 6. 7 over 6 would be considered an improper fraction. Proper fractions are fractions like the 1/2 or the 2/3, where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Now, if you have a numerator that is bigger than the denominator, that is called the improper fraction. Now, you can convert your improper fraction into a mixed number. Mixed numbers are simply a whole number, which is what we know as 1, 2, 3, 4, that is next to or added to a fraction, which is 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, 2/5, all that good stuff. So, how do we convert an improper fraction to a mixed number and then a mixed number to an improper fraction? Let's get started. Okay, say for instance, you have an improper fraction. Improper fraction could be 9 over 2. Because remember, improper fractions, the numerator must be bigger than the denominator. So how do we make an improper fraction a mixed number? Well, you make an improper fraction a mixed number by dividing, because as we explained earlier, fraction is a part of division. So now, division, for those who haven't started it yet, usually starts something like this. So, improper fraction, I'm trying to figure out how many 2s I can pull out the number 9. So, if you know your 2 times tables, how many 2s can you pull out of 9 without going bigger than 9? Well, I know that I can pull 4 2s out of 9 because 4 times 2 is 8. That way, I'm pulling out the proper number of 2s without going over. Because had I put 5, 5 is bigger than 10, and that would be the proper division number to subtract from 9. So 4 times 2 gave me my 8. 9 minus 8 gives me 1. Now, usually when you're dividing, you'll end up with a remainder of 1. When converting it into a mixed number, however, the 4 is my whole number. And the number outside the division, that's my denominator. And my remainder is my numerator. So 9 divided by 2 or 9 over 2 as an improper fraction can be converted into 4 1/2 when you're dividing and making a mixed number. Simple enough? All right. Now, what does it look like if we work the other way around? So let's bring back our 4 1/2. Now, 4 1/2 is another part of dealing with fractions. Why? Because a mixed number has a fraction. You have whole numbers, which is the full number by itself. And of course, fractions is the top number with a bar and a second number. So how do I convert this whole number with a fraction back into an improper fraction? Well, the first thing you would do is multiply the denominator to the whole number. After you find that answer, you then add the numerator to that answer. So 4 times 2 gives me 8, and 8 plus 1 gives me 9, and my bottom still remains 2 because that is the total piece or denominator of the fraction. So in order for you to convert a mixed number to an improper fraction, you multiply the denominator to the whole number, and then you take that whole number answer and you add it to the numerator. And that gives you your improper fraction. Good questions, guys. Again, this is our full online tutoring session. We're discussing fractions. Also, if you have any other questions outside of the fractions, we have up to pre-calculus of answering. So if you have any questions, please comment below. I am here to help, and I hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday. We have another question. Thank you for reminding me of this. It says you mentioned GCF earlier. What does that have to do with fractions? Okay, so remember we talked about least common multiple and greatest common factor. Least common multiple comes to when you are trying to make the fractions alike when you're adding or subtracting them. So if you have different bottoms and you're trying to add them together to make them the same or give them the same denominator, you then use the least common multiple. Greatest common factor comes into play when you are trying to compare or reduce or simplify fractions. So that is what GCF is for, greatest common factor, meaning what numbers multiply together give me this specific number, and what does this number have in common with the other number besides the number 1. Great example of GC when it comes to fractions. Say, for instance, I have 4/6 or 4/6. Okay, greatest common factor tells me that they should or shouldn't have something in common. They should have something in common beyond the number 1. So, say for instance, with 4 and 6. 4 and 6 are even numbers. As you well know, we discussed even numbers yesterday. So, what do even numbers have in common? Well, if you know the story of even numbers, all even numbers are divisible by 2. Now, what if you do not know that all even numbers are divisible by 2 and you want to know the factors of 4 and the factors of 6? Here's how you do it. You guys remember my happy colon from when I did the multiples? Well, now we're going to use the same colon to find out the fact 4 and the factors of 6. So now, what multiply together gives me 4? Well, I know 1, 2, and 4 are factors of 4, because 1 times 4 is 4 and 2 times 2 is 4. And of course, you wouldn't write 2 twice because we know that 2 times 2 is 4. So anytime you're writing the factors, if the number is doubled, you only have to write it once. Next is the number 6. You have 1, 2, 3, and 6. As you can see, you have all the factors of 6. Factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6 because 1 times 6 is 6 and 2 times 6. So now the question is, what is the greatest or biggest number that 4 and 6 have in common in order to reduce or simplify this fraction? Well, the greatest common factor between 4 and 6 would be the number 2. So now that I know that the greatest common factor between 4 and 6 is 2, I'm going to divide both of these by 2. So now, 4 divided by 2, what times 2 gives me 4? 2. 6 divided by 2, or what times 2 gives me 6? 3. So now, greatest common factor plays into reducing and simplifying this fraction. So 4/6 can be reduced or simplified to 2/3 or 2/3. Here's another example. Three Now, what do 3 and 5 have in common? Well, you have 3 is 1 times 3, and 5 is 1 times 7. Well, the greatest common factor between, I'm thinking of the number 7 because I wanted to use 7, 3 sevens instead of 3 fifths. Sorry about that. So 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 3 is 3. So now, the greatest common factor between 3 and 5 is the number 1. So anytime you're writing out your factors and the greatest common factor between the two numbers is the number 1, you are already at your simplest form, meaning that's the smallest it can get, that's the simplest it can get. So anytime your fraction, you're trying to find the greatest common factor between the two, and the greatest common factor is 1, all you have to do is say equals and put the same answer because it's already in its simplest form. Or if the question asks, is this fraction already in the simplest form? You can say yes or you can say no, and then go from there. Thank you for that question. Again, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. I am here to help. This is a full online tutoring session. I'm going over fractions step by step and putting all examples and exaggerations because I know that fractions is typically a very hard subject to master. And so what I want you guys to understand is that fractions are just pieces of a puzzle. You literally can take a piece of a 10-piece puzzle or a piece of a cookie or anything of round shape or something that you can break apart evenly to help understand fractions. So you can use marbles, you can use jacks, you can use Barbie dolls if you like, but make sure that they are considered of equal value so that way you know, okay, this is how I'm going to explain or use fractions. Other than that, I hope you guys are still having a wonderful Wednesday. If you still have any questions, please comment them below. Thank you. All right, guys, here's another good question. How do you multiply and divide fractions? Now, this part of fractions is my favorite part, and here's why. Okay, say for instance, you have 2/5 times 1/3. When you are multiplying and dividing fractions, you multiply the top and you multiply the bottom straight across. 2 times 1 gives me 2 times 3 gives me 15. That is all you have to do when it comes to multiplying and dividing fractions. Now, the key difference between dividing and multiplying fractions. Multiplying is straight across, dividing, you are converting. And here's what I mean when I say converting. So say, for instance, we have the same fractions, but we're dividing them. 2/5 divided by 1/3. So now, how do I divide a fraction? This is what I call keep, change, and flip. K, C, F. Keep, change, flip. KCF, not KFC like the chicken. It is KCF. Keep, change, flip. All right, so keep, meaning I am going to keep the same first fraction. Change means I'm going to convert or change the division into its opposite, which is multiplication. Flip means I'm going to take my fraction and flip it. That means my numerator becomes my denominator, and my denominator becomes my numerator. So now, once I have kept, changed, and flipped, you do what we did in the first problem, and that's multiply across. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 1 is 5. So, whenever you are dealing with multiplying and dividing fractions, know that you go straight across. There's no converting or changing or greatest common value, greatest common factor, or least common multiple. None of that stuff. You just go straight across, multiplying the top and multiplying the bottom. Simple enough. Also, here is a neat trick that I learned when you're in the process of multiplying. Say, for instance, you have 2/5 times 3/4. If you have two fractions where the numerator of the first fraction and the denominator of the second fraction have a common factor, you can go ahead and simplify those two numbers within each other. And by simplify, I mean this. So 2 and 4, one is on top, one is on the bottom. One must be on top and the other must be on the bottom in order for you to do this. If both are on top, both are on the bottom, you cannot simplify the two numbers. So now, 2 and 4 both have a common factor. That common factor is the number 2. So now, 2 divided by 2 gives me 1, and 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. So now I have simplified the numerator and the denominator of the two fractions. And so now I can multiply to the simplest form. So 1 times 3 is 3, and 5 times 2 is 10. Another example of that. All right, you guys. As you can see, you have 5 over 9 times 3 over 10. So, simply put, 5 is on top, 10 is on the bottom, so those two can be simplified. Also, you have 3 and 9, which also can be simplified. How can I simplify them? Well, first, I would do the first numerator to the second denominator, because both of those have 5 in common. 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. Next, 3 and 9. 3 divided by 3, because the greatest common factor between 3 and 9 is 3. 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. So now I can multiply across with the simplest terms. 1 times 1 gives me 1. And 3 times 2 gives me 6. Now, what happened if I would just went straight across? Well, 5 times 3 is 15. And 9 times 10 is 90. The greatest common factor between those two would be 15. But this would be for those who, say for instance, you don't remember your factors of 15, or know that the greatest common factor between 15 and 90 would be 15. This type of fraction is a easy fix of simplest terms without you having to go through the step-by-step mundane process of, okay, how do I reduce this? But 5 times 3 was the 15 and 9 times 10 was the 90. So 15, the greatest common factor between 15 and 90 is, of course, still 15. So if I divide both by 15, I still come out with 15 divided by 15 is 1. 90 divided by 15 is 6. I like these questions. Thank you, guys. Of course, if you have any more questions, you are free to ask them. No question is insignificant. All questions are very important. Please list them below if you have any questions, and I am here to help. Other than that, I hope you are having a wonderful and fantastic Wednesday. Hello, everyone. If you are just now tuning in, I am doing a full online tutoring session at the moment, discussing fractions up to pre-calculus. Of course, if you have any questions, please comment below. I am here to help. If you have any additional questions or want to review what we discussed so far as far as the fractions, the link for the YouTube page is listed in the Facebook messaging board. So if you have any questions or if you want to rewind and watch that portion, you can by clicking on the YouTube link that is listed on the main Facebook page. Or if you're already on YouTube, all you have to do is take the scrolling bar and we'll wind it back, and you'll be able to see all that we discussed as far as fractions. Again, I am here to help. If you have any questions, because all questions are important, please list them below and I'll be here to help you. Other than that, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Good evening. If you are just now tuning in, we are in the process of discussing fractions. Decided to do a full online tutoring session because I know that fractions are one of the key difficult tasks in multiplication, in division, in subtraction, in addition, in all parts of math as a whole. So, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please comment below. I am here to help. Even if it's the what you would consider the most simplest part of fractions and you still have questions about that, please comment them below. I am here to help. Other than that, hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Hello, if you are just now tuning in, because I'm seeing a couple of new faces coming through. If you're just now tuning in, we are in the process of doing discussions of fractions as well as up to pre-calculus questions. If you have any questions, please comment below. I am here to help. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Hello. If you are just now tuning in, we have already completed the discussion portion of fractions. You can click on the YouTube link, or if you're already on the YouTube link, rewind the video and see what all we've discussed about fractions. If you have any additional questions or concern on fractions, you can list your comments and question below. Or if you have any questions for math in general up to pre-calculus, I am here to help. Now, if you need anything with beyond pre-calculus, I don't mind Googling it and helping you find the tools you need in order to succeed in your mathematical needs. How about that? Other than that, hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. And I'm Miss Chris. I'm here to help. Welcome and thank you for tuning in our full online tutoring session. If you have any questions on what we discussed on today, which is, of course, fractions, I am available to reiterate or interact and answer all your questions about fractions. Also, if you have any math questions up to pre-calculus, I am here to help. If you have any questions beyond pre-calculus, I am still here to help. So, any questions? None of them are too big, too small, all are important. Let me know by commenting below. Other than that, have a fantastic Wednesday. If you are just now tuning in, we are within the last 30 minutes of our tutoring session. We're discussing fractions as a whole, but if you have any other questions outside of fractions up to pre-calculus, I am here to help. Other than that, have a wonderful Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in. I see a few new likes and face. If you are just now tuning in, please comment below if you have any questions. Right now, we are discussing fractions. Um, definitely. If you have any questions, please comment below. Right now, we're discussing fractions. Fractions as a whole, whether you're adding, subtracting, dividing them, multiplying them. Um, if you're trying to simplify them, any question that you have concerning fractions, I am here to help with that. Also, outside of fractions for today, I am still doing an online tutoring session. So if you have any questions whatsoever concerning any math up to pre-calculus, I am here to help. Again, if you have any questions, you can comment below into the Facebook or YouTube pages. Other than that, I hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. Good evening, everyone. I see a new few faces have tuned in. If you are tuning in now, we are still within our last 20 minutes of this full online tutoring session. We have discussed fractions, and if you have any questions concerning fractions, you can comment below. Also, if you have any questions up to pre-calculus when it has anything to do with math, I am here to help. Anything beyond pre-calculus, I can't help you. Promise you, I'm just kidding. If you have any questions of all math questions, all are important and definitely significant. If you have any questions, please comment below. I am here to help. Other than that, I hope you are having a fantastic and wonderful Wednesday. All right, guys, we are within our last 10 minutes of our online tutoring session. If you have any questions, concerns, as far as any math questions, I am here to help. We did go over the fraction portion at the beginning earlier. So if you would like to rewind, you can click on the YouTube link that's listed into the Facebook page, or if you're already on YouTube, you can go ahead and slide to rewind. Other than that, the video will be posted later on once this live is completed. Again, any questions, any concerns, anything that you need, I am here to help. Other than that, I hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you. All right, you guys, we are winding down into the last minutes of our tutoring session. Glad you guys were able to tune in and join. Today was an awesome day with awesome questions. Of course, if you have any questions, you can reach me by inboxing me, DMing me, or texting me at 205-542-5062. Again, I am here to help. Later on this week on Friday, we will be learning how to for the second through fourth graders. We are going back through money. This time we are adding in dollar bills. Next, we are going to go into place values from 3 digits to 6 digits. And we will be touching on perimeter and area for the 2D and 3D shapes. So this Friday, you definitely don't want to miss it. Same time as Monday as well as Wednesday. And then on Saturday, we are going back into Operation Saturday where we will be touching base on subtraction. Everything subtraction from basic subtraction all the way to the advanced part of subtraction. Teaching you guys how to borrow and take away. Other than that, I have had a fantastic time with you beautiful people. Until next time, this is Miss Chris of Mathematics for You Tutorial Services, LLC, where we are changing mindsets one problem at a time. You guys have a blessed evening. Good night.